Welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw, and today I'm flipping the script a little bit. Last time we had Kevin on, Kevin was interviewing me. This time I'm going to interview Kevin, and I'm going to specifically interview him about a account management or customer success playbook that he recently created for the entire Domain team. And when he created this, it took him a decent amount of time. I know that, a lot of effort. Kevin was in the customer success account management role here at Domain for at least 2 years, if not 3. And has recently come over onto the sales and marketing side of the house, and all of that knowledge that he had in his brain of the everyday day in and day out grind that he was doing to help our clients succeed with Domain services, he had all bottled up in his head. And he was recently able to, not only with our partnership with HubSpot, but also take that partnership and what was in his head and put it together and create this customer success playbook. And I think it was just insanely valuable. I read it over a weekend. I was like, we got to get him on to talk about this.
No, obviously I'm passionate about it, so happy to talk about it, so thank you,
Yeah, so we're going to start right at the top. This actually, when he created this, we went through it together, and I think this is going to be best suited as 4 different conversations. We're going to start this first episode with the account manager responsibilities and what does onboarding a new client and that role, how do those work together to make it a successful transition? But then on future episodes, we're going to talk about how do you continue to have success with customer success and account management as the relationship progresses past onboarding stage.
Right.
And the third conversation we're going to have is going to be, what do you do when clients are at risk? Potentially an issue in service delivery, maybe there's other players at the table. How do you handle that? And Kevin's done an incredible job at doing that and keeping relationships alive, reframing relationships, getting a better product offering in front of these to keep our clients happy. So that's going to be another one which I think will be very valuable. And the final one is, how in a customer success account management role do you grow these relationships? You know, they always say that the easiest person to sell is a person that's already purchasing your products, already happy with what you're doing. How can you add more value to them and get them to continue to engage and continue to grow the size of their account within your company? So Kevin, thanks for doing this.
Thanks
is
for
great.
having me, man. Yeah.
Sure. Why don't we start right up top, on the top of this document, and this document could be sold for thousands of dollars, I can tell you that. But on the top of this document, Kevin has a quote, and it says, "If we don't take care of our customers, someone else will." And it was by Edgar Mitchell. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean to you?
So, that's a good question. So this really says it all, this quote for me, because I come from, as you know, the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So the jump from the hospitality industry into customer service for Domain was not as hard as you would imagine, even without a complete technical background.
Correct,
you know.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about, how do you make people feel comfortable? How do you show them attention? You know, like caring, genuinely caring. It's not something people are used to in business anymore. So I think that quote says it all, because if you don't do that, you're guaranteed they'll go somewhere else. It's
and
that
I
simple.
think, so the point, and it doesn't have to be complex, right? It could be that simple.
Yeah.
How do you care about your customers?
100%.
And I think a lot of times businesses care about their customers. They say they care about their customers. We talked about it on Culture, right? When you interviewed me about, we care about our employees, but how do you go and show it to them?
Yep.
And I think when I see the words account management and now they're turning it into customer success, I see more of this reactive to proactive approach, at least in the wording. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about how you actually deliver on that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about I would say the most important time in a customer's journey is they've gone through a sales process, an official sales process with the team that's at place. And now that is going to transition into them being a full-time customer of yours. What are the responsibilities of an account manager or customer success individual?
So that stage is actually, for me, from what I've seen, it is the most crucial, because they've made the commitment, they've took the leap, they've made the transaction, and now it's time for you to do what you said you were going to do, right? And you made the promises at the sales stage, and now it's your time. Yeah. So it's about kind of knowing, first and foremost, you have to get to know the people you're working with, right?
Yeah.
What are their business goals? Who are they? How do they communicate is a big one.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to shoot emails out constantly and this person doesn't answer emails, they're going to hate you quickly.
Yes.
I promise you, I know this.
Yeah.
Some people only do calls, some people like texts,
Yeah.
whatever. It's your job to make that work for them.
And I think
right?
that's the key point right there, though. It's your job as this person, as this individual on the team, to understand that and make it work for them. Instead of complaining potentially about, well, they don't answer my emails.
No.
Well, maybe that's not how they operate.
Exactly.
And you have to go figure out.
And that's the thing. Everybody's entitled to operate how they normally do. It's your job as a business now that's in business with them to change, for them, to adapt, to tailor the solution to them.
So
you know
true.
what I mean?
So true. All right.
The other thing is get to know their agreements, what they signed for. It's your job to be the expert in this.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, nobody else is going to know. So you have to make sure the team you're working with knows all the information that you have about this particular agreement. Because at the end of the day, when there's problems, concerns, it's going to come back to you. So that's your job. That's super crucial at that part too.
So what you're saying there is completely understand the services that this individual client signed up for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And because at least what we find in our business, and I feel like this is true in any business, is not every agreement, not all services, it's not cookie cutter.
Exactly.
Every business out there is different. They're formed differently. They have different locations, different staff, all of these different needs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so all of these agreements are slightly different from each other. And it's your job to know.
Yeah, you have to know what they need.
What do
you
they
have to
got?
know what they need. That's the big thing.
No, I love it. All right, what's next? What do we
The other thing for me is the most crucial piece, and this kind of goes back to the first point, but you have to understand their personality. Everybody's got a different personality, every single person. So it's your job to make those emotional kind of intelligence connections between people.
Give us an example of this. Like you have different examples, I'm sure, but I'm going to try and help you here with an example. See, you have some people that are more very direct communicators.
Right.
It may sound like they're angry, but in reality, they're not angry. They're direct.
Yes, some people, time is viewed different by a lot of people. If they're very direct and they don't have a lot of it, they don't want communication that's an email this big.
Correct.
They don't want you on the phone for an hour.
Yeah.
They want what is the point of your call? And that's it,
Yeah.
right? And that's fine. If you need to operate like that, operate like that.
Yeah.
Some people like to talk to you. They like to, get to know about this and get to know about that. They like to be listened to. It all depends who you're talking to.
Yeah. And once again, that's your responsibility. Not only how do they like to get communicated, but who are they as an individual? And you have to play to that. You have to know when I'm getting a call from Sally from XYZ company, that I got to be prepared in my mind that I'm going to need to remember these couple things.
Oh, yeah.
And she's going to want to talk probably for a half hour, and I got to be respectful of that.
Oh, 100%.
Even though I may have 10 minutes, I gotta keep it concise and
to your point, and this is something we'll talk about later, but I've noticed that there's no such thing as little things. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as little things. If you, on this onboarding process, we're talking about, we do a little handwritten letter the first day, send it to the client and say, hey, if you need anything, contact me. I'm here for you. Our team is looking forward to working with you. And that's a nice touch. It's not a little thing because now you've taken accountability. You've wrote it with your hand and sent it to that client, So it's you taking accountability and nothing is little. If you remembered a birthday that they had or something like that, that goes a long way. Nothing, so
100%.
You want to try and do that as much as possible.
And let's talk about the fourth point on here that we just added slightly before this, but was, it is this role's job to make sure that the customer is getting the most out of the service that they've purchased. Because at the end of the day, where this goes for me, and you can answer as well, obviously, what it goes for me is they've purchased, in our case, information technology services, support, and cybersecurity. A lot of that stuff they don't understand.
Right.
They know they need it. They need their business to be up and running. They need it to be secure. They need it up and running so they can provide for their clients.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they may not know all the ins and outs of
Right.
how to get the best or the most out of the service they're offering.
100%.
So touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, if you work for this company for a while, your company, in that matter, you know what works, right? They don't know because they just signed up with you. You know what works. So
Yeah.
it's your job to show these people, your clients, how to use your services. You've seen it work before.
Yeah.
Just show them how to do it. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Some people need to be guided through that process a little more than others, but it's your job to make sure that the agreement that they signed up for is getting used and hitting their pain points and doing everything they thought it would. And if it's not, you have to reset expectations. There's things you have to do other than that too.
So good, so good. All right, so let's dive into, so that was the overall role, right? Those 4 points, and Ty will reference those in, whether it be in the video or in the show notes, those 4 direct points. But after that, this one specifically, we wanted to talk about that initial onboarding. So walk us through that initial onboarding, the steps that you see, and how is this position vital to that onboarding?
Right, 100%. So again, that is the most crucial time because this is the time for you to live up to the promises you made during that sales agreement. So again, huge point. How do you like to communicate? Can't stress that enough. You mess up that stage, nothing else matters. If you don't know how they like to communicate, and I know this personally, we have a ton of clients, all of them communicate differently.
Yeah.
So huge, getting to know that. First, know the agreement. What exactly, any call you're gonna have, any meeting you're gonna have, you have to do the research. You have to be prepared. Because the most prepared person in this role in particular is always going to come out looking the best. Always,
Correct.
always, always.
And how would you recommend, like, because obviously coming from the sales side, how do you recommend that happen? What is something that the account manager or customer
You have
success
to
can
ask
do?
questions, just like any good salesperson and like any good role in any company, ask questions. Ask people internally that have information. Ask the client directly because nobody's going to know those answers better than them.
And for all the sales folks out there, or even just new business, whether you're a CEO or owner-led sales, right, and you've onboarded those things and you're trying to hand it off to your team behind you, it's vital to you to go into them and explain to them directly, the entire team that's going to be working on that account, what are the relationships that you have? What is this individual like? How did we even get in here? Are there other relationships to other clients that they know of that this is how all of this came together? So you being able to go transfer the knowledge that's here over to your teammates, I think is what will lead customer
100%.
success to understanding the agreement that you actually put in place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just another point on that, by doing that, you'll come across little things that were a pain point for that client before this even happened.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about quick wins. These quick wins in the beginning are what you want. And those are just addressing those pain points that you know of, happened before you got there. You want to hit those first because you hit those and you let the client know in a nice subtle way that, we're here for you. We can take care of this. I know it was bothering you. You jump 10 steps right away.
You've already shown that you're different from where they came from.
100%.
And that makes them happy, right? All right, let's go on to point number here in identifying clear guidelines on how they, as the client, can access your services.
Right, that's a big one too. So if they can't use your services properly, it's no good to anyone. So you have to make really clear guidelines on how that's going to run. I would get in trouble all the time, and I still do sometimes, of clients that would reach out directly because you build those relationships.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is it's not good for anybody to do that because if I'm not here for some reason, something gets lost. And that's the last thing, especially in our business, that you want to happen. So you need to set clear guidelines on, feel free to CC me on it, but this is the email you're going to use.
Correct,
These are the people that are going to help you.
Yeah.
Because without those proper channels, I can tell you that leads to more miscommunication than any other element of anything we're going to talk about.
And I think your point there is, you're not framing it in the way that you can't get access to me.
Right.
You can, but I need to make sure that for you to get the best level of service out of us as a company, you need to follow these specific channels and include me on it, but please make sure that these these channels are followed. That way, we all, if I'm not here, I'm on vacation, whatever, can deliver the service.
Because to your point also, like, you want to be accountable for this.
Yeah.
So put me on the email. I would love to know exactly what's going on, especially if it's bothering you. But this is where you go first. Correct. Because these are just how we operate, and you want to just make that very clear, because you could lose a lot in between those cracks from what I've seen.
Yeah. And to your earlier point too, you can use, hey, how were you engaging with maybe the past vendor or past internal staff on this that now we've taken over for you? And they may have ways that they're already doing it, and it may be easy for you as the service provider to just be like, hey, we can continue exactly how it was being done, so your employees don't even notice a difference.
Exactly, because if you want to tailor fit that solution to them, you have to know where they came from, right? What they're used to, how they're used to working, and you could build around that. So the biggest point of all of it is that information download. That is your job, to get all of that information from a client, and in that process, you tend to build a relationship, because there's a bunch of questions you have. Things are gonna come out, and you're gonna be able to tell what kind of person they are, how much time they're willing to stay on the phone and answer these questions. You're gonna know everything, and it's that delicate balance of taking their personality into account and getting all the information you need.
Good stuff. All right, next point on this list is, we talked about this already, research the client's particular agreement and understand what services are being delivered for them. And that helps with your future conversations.
Exactly. That just helps you get ahead of anything that's going to come up, because it goes back to just being prepared. If you're not prepared, it's a matter of time, and I know it's hard with a lot of clients, but it is your job to be the most familiar with these agreements, and every agreement's different. So that's just part of the role,
Exactly. All right, and we also discussed this one. Try to understand their personality to the best of your ability. And I would say, that's not easy for everybody to do.
No, you're absolutely right.
It may be easy for me and you to read a room and the person we're talking with, and that just kind of comes naturally to us. And this, I think, is all about that emotional intelligence that we speak so highly of. How can somebody develop that skill?
Dude, it's a great question, and it's the easiest answer ever. Listen. Just listen to people.
Perfect.
Listen, everybody wants to talk. Not a lot of people want to listen. And more times than not, people just need somebody to listen to them. So when you hear what they're saying, you learn. You learn everything you need to know about somebody. If they're constantly frustrated when you talk to them, you know you have some work to do.
Yeah.
If they're generally a happy person every day and that energy's high, you know what you're dealing with. It's you have to be able to make those connections. And I understand it's not everybody. It's not as easy for everybody to make those connections, but you have to just intentionally listen, not just listen. Intentionally listen.
I think everybody has the ability to listen.
100%. 100%.
Right. All right, and how is, you touched on it a little bit, I want you to go a little bit deeper on it though, is how do you deliver a unique experience that sets you apart from the past nearly immediately or within the first or second week of that engagement?
So it definitely depends on what industry you're in to a certain extent, but you have to make it personal. At the end of the day, you're a business, you're delivering services, but you're dealing with people. Especially in our industry, you're dealing with people, right? Yeah. So take that into account. Take into account what you would like, and just use that. Like the handwritten letter thing. We do that because if somebody sent me a handwritten letter, I'd go, nice touch. And that's why we do it. It's that simple, and that's a way of taking people's guards down a little bit. And that's all we're trying to do. If you want business to be done in an enjoyable way, you have to do that. There's no other way to do it.
It's so good, and I think that's a nice way to set the expectations off, right? That I'm listening. I'm here to care for you. You are now my customer. I want to be held accountable for this relationship, and they can feel that there.
100%. Some of the best conversations I've ever had are when I get on the phone and I mean it. Like, listen, I lost sleep because I know this is happening and I know this call was coming.
Yeah.
So I need to fix this for you now. I need to. And it's on me if I don't. I don't expect to have a call with you and you be nice to me if we can't figure something out. Yeah. So everybody understands that across the board because you actually care. You're not saying you care and then going, let this pass by for a week and see if anyone else is going to handle it. No, it's on me. It's totally on me. Yeah. And people respect that in general, 100%. I think.
And in regards, well, I know we'll do a little bit more on ongoing success, but I recently got something. Somebody missed an appointment with me.
Yeah.
They missed the appointment. They blew it. Whatever. It's all good. And then they sent me something that I wasn't expecting. And maybe you can tell on how I reacted to that.
Oh,
and what
excellent
it was
touch. So I know you had told me you had a call lined up for whatever time it was. This person missed the call completely, but then you get a little email that's from her personally that said, here's a little $5 coupon to, I think it was coffee
Starbucks,
or something.
Yeah, Starbucks.
Excellent. And you come running from the other room to show me that, completely forgetting the fact that this call was missed.
Exactly.
So it's just a nice way. For me, it just shows me that the business is taking accountability and cares about that kind of stuff. And if you see the business cares about that kind of stuff, you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Mistakes happen.
Exactly. Because we're not all perfect.
No, exactly.
So this was part one of the account management playbook, customer success playbook here. Kevin just went on the responsibilities. We talked about onboarding and what success looks like. In part two, we are going to jump directly into ongoing engagements and how do you continue that role. I'm looking at 2 pages of notes here. We're going to have some good questions, some good material. And I guess we'll end this episode once again with this quote right at the top. If we don't take care of our customers, somebody else will. And that was by Edgar Mitchell. Kev, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.